What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about who I think should be selected from pick 6 all the way to 10 in the 2023 NBA draft. Of course, we now do finally have the lottery confirmation on where these teams will be, of course, picking. Again, there was some surprises for sure, like Detroit, unfortunately for them, falling down to 5, and Portland even jumping all the way up to pick 3 as well. But again, now that we've got that, official draft lottery, we know where these teams are going to be sitting, so it's so much more easier for myself and others to, I think, predict where some of these players are going to go. Now, of course, before I get into it, I would highly recommend you guys go and check out the first part of this video, where I talk about the players who I think that should go from picks 1 through 5. That way, you'll be all caught up to date with my mock draft if you go and check out that video. Not just that, it will help you just in case you want to comment why I didn't take a certain player with this pick. It is because, of course, I might have already taken that player that you want with a higher pick to a different team. So, as I was saying, go and check that all out. And I guess without further ado, with the 6th overall pick, we actually have the Orlando Magic. And Orlando, again, seem like they just are continuing to hit the draft, and so far they've done a really good job with a bunch of their players that they've selected. Of course, taking the gamble and taking Paolo Banchero at 1 when a lot of people said they should take Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith. At pick 1, they really stuck to their guns, trusted their workouts, trusted their intel, and went with Banchero. And look how much it's rewarding them. And of course, Franz Wagner with a high pick. I think it was pick 8 or so the year before. Really good pick against Suggs. Hasn't exactly panned out what they wanted him to be, but again, there's still a lot of time for him to, I still think, develop into being a really solid player in the NBA. And I think with the 6th overall pick, they have another chance to really add to this exceptional young core that they have. And with the 6th overall pick, I've actually got them selecting Ausar Thompson, who I think just absolutely fits this team and continues to make this team one of the most exciting squads, I think, in the NBA. When we look at Ausar Thompson, he's actually a lot, I think, more different to his twin that a lot of people think, and actually know about. Again, with Ausar, he's actually a little bit different in the points where he's not really a point guard slash guard like his brother is. He can definitely play the small forward quite well, and even switch, I believe, from 1 through 3 and even potentially the 4 as well. An exceptionally good defender at 6'7", just has the ability to read the passing lanes really well. He's got really good weak side help on the defense. He's just an exceptional defender coming into this draft. Not just that, he is an extremely athletic guy as well, who I think is just so underrated when it comes to that. This dude's got crazy hops, and the potential with his athleticism also ties in the potential with his defense, I think, in the NBA, where it's just going to go coincide of just being a really good player. Now, I've seen some comparisons saying that he's actually, got a couple of players here and there, like, of course, his brother. He's compared to his brother in terms of his athleticism and defense. But, of course, as well as some other dudes here and there, like a Terrence Ross. And I think people forget when prime Terrence Ross was in the NBA, he was an exceptionally good scorer who had extremely good hops. And, of course, wasn't that bad on defense either. And I think when we look at Ausar Thompson, if you can get the scoring and athleticism out of, what prime, I think, Terrence Ross showed in the NBA, plus an elite level defense, you're going to be seeing an absolutely exceptional player, I think, coming to the NBA. And if you put him on this Orlando Magic team, God, is this team probably the most athletic squad in the NBA almost. Again, I don't know if, of course, Ausar's not going to fix their shooting issues. That's one big thing, is I don't think Orlando have really the greatest shooters, but I definitely think they can fill that out maybe on the bench. And who knows who their starting point guard is going to be in the future. Again, a lot of people say Markelle Fultz, but I wonder if you drafted Ausar Thompson, do you look at maybe someone different at that point guard, if maybe Jalen Suggs gets the nod. And again, if you put Suggs in there as well, just defensively, this team from 1 through 4 is going to be stacked. Again, you might need to do some work on your center defensively, but honestly, just having Ausar Thompson, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero all in the same lineup, I just think is one scary thing, not only athletically, but defensively on the court. I think Banchero has a really high ceiling defensively. I think Franz Wagner is an underrated defender and can definitely grow into being a really good defender in the NBA as well. You look at Ausar Thompson, one of the best defenders in this draft class. Some people have him as the best defender, which is not so far-fetched to think as well. And yeah, the scoring is going to be really good, and I just really love this young team that this Magic team would be building if they drafted Ausar. Again, some issues with Ausar Thompson is his outside shooting isn't very good. It's definitely a fault of his game style right now. He's also not a very good passer compared to his brother, or not as good as a passer, I should probably say. But look, if you bring in Ausar Thompson, and even though himself and Banchero aren't the greatest three-point shooters, I think eventually, as they develop on their career, they could definitely get there. Again, Franz Wagner is a really good, or can be a really good three-point shooter. I think at point guard and center, we're not exactly too sure who's going to be the future names there, but even if you put Markelle Fultz still in there and playing him with Ausar Thompson, that'd just be a really scary sight, and something I think that would be really, really awesome. And again, the Magic have the 11th pick in this draft, and I've actually got them taking a player who I think will help with their shooting. Again, a little bit of a spoiler, but a little bit of a hint to the next video. But yeah, I think who I have them taking a pick 11 should help out with their shooting anyway. So it's just a thing where you're not going to worry about that with Ausar Thompson. Look, his shooting's not going to be great, but he's going to make up for it in so many other different aspects, and he's just going to be another really awesome building piece for this already great young core that the Orlando Magic are rocking with. So again, as I said, with the 6th overall pick, I do have the Magic selecting Ausar Thompson. Now, with the 7th overall pick, we have the Indiana Pacers, and this is another team who has an exceptional young core, and I think they're almost filling out nearly every position with a really young player, and I think we're up to that small forward position now, and I've actually got them selecting one of the best small forwards in this draft class in Cameron Whitemore, who I think could be a really nice help and player to bring in to this Indiana Pacers team. It's being said that Cameron Whitemore has an extremely good mid-range, a very, very capable three-point shooter, a pretty good defender as well that can switch from 1 through 3, a really underrated scorer as well. When I've talked about Cameron Whitemore in the past, I've talked about him being a really good shooter, whether it's the catch and shoot or from the mid-range, whatever it might be. But one thing I don't think touched on as much as I should have, how underrated of a scorer Cam Whitemore can be, and I think underrated defender at times as well. Again, might need to somewhat work on it if he wants it to translate to the NBA, but from what we've seen, this guy is a very, very capable defender. I've seen some people actually compare him to a bit of like a Justice Winslow, but with a jump shot. And you have to think about it, if Justice Winslow is one of those players that if he actually had a jump shot, he'd low-key be one of the best players in the NBA. Like, it's just the issue with Justice Winslow's game is he can do everything so good, like defend and play make, but he's just got no jump shot or scoring sensibility, and that's why he struggled so much in his career, is because he can do everything, but he's only going to put like 5 points, 6 points really per night out on that court. But you're looking at a Cam Whitemore dude here who's got the similar tools as what Justice Winslow does, but he's actually got an exceptionally good jump shot from the mid-range and three-point range, and also shown he can be a scorer as well. So you kind of combine Justice Winslow's defense and I think you know, just ability to guard 1 through 3, and then you guard it with a scorer in the NBA, and you're looking at a really nice player. Now, the only thing that he probably doesn't have from Justice Winslow, though, is it's being said that he has not great playmaking skills. He's pretty weak when it does come to passing and ball movement, which is something he'll definitely need to, I think, figure out. But when you've got, if you get drafted in the Indiana Pacers and you've got Tyrese Haliburton on your team, geez, you don't really need to have much playmaking there, and that is an absolute fact because you've already got that guy there who's going to be running this entire offense. And the way I see it is you're going to have Tyrese Haliburton having Benedict Mathurin as his shooting guard and Cam Whitemore as his small forward. Like, that trio right there, I don't believe there's anyone under 6'6". Like, I think Haliburton is 6'7", 6'6" maybe. I think Mathurin is like 6'7". You got Whitemore is 6'7" now as well. And they're all athletic guys who can all switch 1 through 3. So that's going to be an absolute big problem on the, I think, defensive end. It's going to really affect a lot of teams because they're just going to be a menace to society on the defensive end of the ball. So it's definitely going to be a really good thing. And I think, yeah, this is the move for the Indiana Pacers. Cam Whitemore just really adds to their team. You know, as I said, he's a good defender. But it's also just being said that one of the reasons he's such a good defender is because he's consistently high energy all the time. And he even is really good at getting his own boards and just helping out on the rebounding end. And that's something you need on this Pacers team because Miles Turner, about one of the only things he can't do is he's a very below average rebounder for a center. Like, he only averages, I think, 7 or 8 rebounds a night, which is not good really for a guy that averages 30 to 35 minutes. So, and how good he is, he does need help on the rebounding sometimes. So if you bring in a dude like Cam Whitemore who can do that and box out and has the ability to get boards over those taller opponents, then that's a really good match for this team. And I think, look, you need a power forward. Will they draft the power forward later on? Maybe, maybe not. You can go on a free agency and maybe bring in a power forward, but this team is really set, and the young core is just an absolutely awesome thing, and I'm really excited to see this team. And I think Whitemore just fits into what the Pacers are about, which is a high defensive team that likes to space the ball now. So yeah, kind of a match made in heaven for the Indiana Pacers, and that's why I've got them taking Cam Whitemore with the 7th overall pick. Now, with the 8th overall pick, we have a team who, yeah, has definitely missed on some drafts. A team who I always want to succeed, but just doesn't really, and it's really confusing, really annoying, and I think they really need to nail this pick, and this is the Washington Wizards, of course. They desperately need a point guard more than anything that they've really needed in the last 10 or so years. Like, it is such an issue where you've constantly got players like Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal trying to set up this offense because they've just got no point guard there to distribute the ball, and it has become an issue for so long. And look, there's not really an exceptional point guard on the board right now, but I think there is a guy who would be at this pick 8 range or so who I think would be really awesome for this Washington Wizards team, and that actually just happens to be Anthony Black, who I think makes a lot of sense if you bring him in, as he's a dude that is around 6'7", listed as a bit of a point forward who is actually being compared to Josh Giddey, which is a really awesome comparison. We know Josh Giddey is one of the best playmakers in the game, does absolutely freakish stuff on the court, and I don't think that Anthony Black's playmaking is just quite at what Josh Giddey's was when Giddey was playing for the Adelaide 36ers in the NBL. But when I look at Anthony Black, he makes up for it in other things, as he's a really solid shooter who has a pretty awesome mid-range. Again, his 3-point shot is not exactly there, but he's definitely developing on it. And what I really like about it is he's actually being said that he's a pass-first player who the Wizards desperately need. Like, they've got shot creators all around, and Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, and I think Kristaps Porzingis. Wouldn't it be nice to have a dude like Anthony Black just come in and play make really well, be a pass first guy, and also a dude who can eventually develop his three-point range. And when you've got Bradley Beal or Kyle Kuzma cooking it up, then you've got a dude like, I think, Anthony Black standing on that perimeter where he will hopefully be able to hit. What's awesome about Anthony Black is he also, I think, will be able to help out with the rebounding that Kristaps Porzingis doesn't necessarily have sometimes. We know Kristaps is a guy that likes to venture out to the three-point line quite a bit. And when he shoots these threes, if they don't go in, there's never really anyone else there to get the boards. Especially when Kristaps is playing that 5. You kind of rely on Kyle Kuzma to go do his thing. And Kyle Kuzma's not the greatest rebounder, if I'm going to be honest. I know his numbers do look good, but that's just because, again, Kristaps shoots so many threes, so they have to have a dude getting those rebounds. So I think you bring in a dude like Anthony Black, who's a taller point guard, who's going to be able to go in and help through that. Again, he's got a pretty good vision, though. Even though I said he's not as good as what Josh Giddey is, that's not necessarily saying he doesn't have a good vision. Again, as I said, he's a pass-first guy who's got a pretty good vision, pretty good around the rim as well, and has low-key sneaky quickness, it's being said. And again, he's got a beautiful jump shot. He hasn't been able to hit the 3-ball, but he's actually got a really, really nice and underrated mid-range as well. So I just wonder, look, he's not the most athletic guy out there, but he's kind of that Josh Giddey prototype now, that we're seeing that a lot of these players are really coming out of Australia. Like, you look at Dyson Daniels and Josh Giddey, both out of Australia, and even LaMelo Ball, who played in Australia. Anthony Black isn't from Australia, so I'm not sure if that's anything against him. Obviously, it's a joke, ladies and gentlemen. Don't attack me in the comments. I'm Australian myself. I just like to amp up the country. But you know what, Anthony Black, I like this move for the Wizards. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think he honestly fills in a lot of the things that they don't have, and they desperately need defense, rebounding, and playmaking, I think. And you're going to bring in the playmaking and the rebounding with Anthony Black. You're going to bring in a quick dude as well who's going to be a pass-first guy. Will he be there on the defensive end of the ball? Maybe. It's not, I think, officially going to be confirmed if he will be. I mean, when we look at that Josh Giddey comparison, Josh Giddey's either a really good defender or you look at him and you're like, yeah, he's pretty slow and unathletic. I think Anthony Black is definitely got that unathletic part of him, but he's definitely not slow. He's, I think, much quicker than Giddey. So on the defensive end of the ball, it's going to be an interesting thing, but I think he will help out in so many awesome and underrated ways with this Washington Wizards team. And he will definitely be a better pick, I believe, than a bunch of the players they've selected in previous years. And I think that's going to be a lot of comfort to know. And I think if you're Bradley Beal, you look at this and you go from having Delon Wright as your point guard, a guy who's like not a good passer at all, to a guy in Anthony Black who, look, he might not be the best passer in his first season. He might start off slow, but hey, maybe there's a chance if you tell him all you got to do is play make and get some boards. Maybe there's a chance he goes out and does exactly that. I doubt he's going to be trying to score over Beal, Porzingis, Kuzma, whoever it might be. He's just going to come in, I think, play make, be the pass-first point guard we know he can definitely be. And yeah, I think this is a really awesome and interesting prospect that I think Wizards fans are going to very, very like, especially if they decide to draft him here. Now, with the 9th overall pick, we have the Utah Jazz, another team who I believe needs a point guard. And again, it so happens that there is a point guard around this kind of mark who I actually like quite a bit. Some people have him as a shooting guard, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure where his part of his career will be. I know he's definitely a guy who can just do a bit of both, and that's actually Nick Smith. He's being said that he's a combo guard mainly, and I kind of like him for this team because we know the Jazz desperately need to, I think, draft some guards in this draft. They've really got Colin Sexton there, and that's kind of about it. Colin Sexton's awesome, but I think we know with Sexton's future, he's probably going to be a three-point shooter, off the bench. His three-point shooting is low-key underrated, I think, but also just a really nice scorer off that bench. I wonder what they're going to do with Jordan Clarkson, because I think Sexton would be a lot better of a player if Clarkson wasn't on this team, and Clarkson has a lot of trade value, so I'm not sure what's going to be going on there. But at the end of the day, both those players are pretty much bench players. Clarkson started, but I think his best spot in the NBA is off the bench. And if you bring in a dude like Nick Smith, that kind of allows that to actually happen, as he is a 6'4", again, point guard slash shooting guard who has a 6'9" wingspan. And that's just super scary. Like, imagine putting this dude at point guard and him having a 6'9" wingspan. Like, he's going to be a really, really good defender. I've even seen some people actually compare him to a bit of a Jaden Ivey, where Jaden Ivey is a dude who's like 6'4", can guard the point guard, can guard the shooting guard. Pretty decent playmaker, but can just really be a very awesome defender. Extremely good wingspan. And that's kind of just what Nick Smith has. It's being said that Nick Smith, you know, being a really, really good defender, does also have a really nice 3-point jump shot and has an exceptionally good, deep bag in that could compare to the NBA very well, which is a really awesome thing, I think, for this Jazz team. It's being said that he has springy legs and really, really good bounce and can definitely play above the rim. And he's got a 6'9" wingspan, which helps him play above his size, where he can actually go ahead and potentially guard the small forward as well. It's being said that he's a really, really good defender and can be a very nice big-time talent in the future. Again, his playmaking, it might be a little bit of an unknown. It's going to be really interesting to see if this will translate, I think, to the NBA. But honestly, I think it'd be a good experiment to give it a go, especially considering, you know, this dude's going to be a 6'4" guy with a 6'9" wingspan. He's going to be an exceptionally good defender, which I think the Jazz lost a lot of at the trade deadline. They definitely lost a lot of their defense, and especially losing Mike Conley. Conley is an extremely underrated, I think, defender at that point guard position. So bringing in a dude like Nick Smith will definitely help bring that defense, I think, and restore that quite well. I do think the potential will be there on the playmaking end, and I hope that he can convert to being a good playmaker. And look, if it doesn't work out, there's no reason why the Utah Jazz can say, look, he might not be the future starting point guard, but he might be the future starting shooting guard. Like, the fact that he's such an elite defender with a 6'9" wingspan, who's extremely athletic, is really awesome, because if the point guard situation doesn't work, well, you just play him at shooting guard. The dude's a combo guard. He can do both. And that's what's really awesome about this selection that I think will have Utah Jazz fans excited, especially if they do decide to select him. And look, in the first season, if you don't find his starting shooting guard or whatever, I still think Jordan Clarkson could start, and they'd be a really awesome duo. And who knows, maybe if they might even see that or disagree with me, that Colin Sexton is a future backup guard. Maybe they think Colin Sexton's a future starting guard, and this was just a year to get him back from injury. Maybe they have plans to rock him at the 1, and maybe have a dude like Nick Smith Jr. go to the 2. He would make up for a lot of what Colin Sexton doesn't do, which is defense. So, yeah, I think it'd be a really awesome duo, and why not? You could definitely see how that goes, and I think Nick Smith Jr. is a really solid player to have at this 9th overall pick, because his playmaking, we don't know yet if it will be what we think it could be and translate to the NBA. But at the end of the day, you're looking at a really good athletic defender who could quite potentially be a nice scorer as well in the NBA, who can guard 1 through 3. Like, this is a 6'4" dude with a 6'9" wingspan. Like, I've heard Jaden Ivey comparisons, but what about Bruce Brown? Bruce Brown's a dude who is also, I believe, 6'4" with like a 6'9" wingspan. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, playing on a team who is in the finals now. Like, that's just crazy, and is going to be getting, I think, some pretty big offers in the free agency, especially from a team potentially like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the team he plays for now in the Denver Nuggets. So, a lot of really awesome things going on there, and I think Nick Smith Jr. could maybe be a similar type of guy. And look, Bruce Brown's even played backup point guard this year. So yeah, maybe that's the real comparison over Jaden Ivey. So again, I think this is a really good pick, and I think it makes a lot of sense that the Utah Jazz should, of course, be selecting Nick Smith Jr. with the 9th overall pick. Now, moving on to the Dallas Mavericks with the 10th overall pick. I think Dallas are in a situation where they don't necessarily need to be going out and obviously trying to draft that next star. They definitely don't need to do that, especially if they can retain Kyrie Irving, which I'm not sure if they're going to. What that's going to be like, we don't know. But you've got Luka Doncic at that 1. You should have cap space anyway, especially if you trade some of those bad contracts and whatnot, to go out and maybe even try and sign another star, even if Kyrie doesn't come back. And I think you've got some exceptional role players there in like Josh Green, but I don't think they necessarily have their future starting power forward. I think Maxi Kleber's cool there. Christian Wood plays some minutes there, not a whole lot. And I've heard rumors he might not be back in free agency. But if I'm looking at this Dallas Mavericks team, I'm just wondering, look, can you go out and draft a power forward here who's going to help out the team quite a bit? And so happens that the best player I think available right now is a power forward in Taylor Hendricks, who I think really fits this team. You're looking at a 6'9" guy who has really good size, really good length. He is a really nice jumper and a very, very good 3-ball as well. He's got that 6'9" strong frame where he's really, really good athletically. He's got a strong bounce and really scores effortlessly above the rim. It's being said that he's a great dunker and is always a threat to get a really nice offensive board, which it doesn't seem like the Mavericks have had in a minute. And it's also being said that he's really good defensively and can guard the 3 to the 5. A comparison that I love that this guy's being compared to, and I think this makes a lot of sense, is actually Jeremy Grant. And I think, yeah, you're looking at a younger Jeremy Grant, a dude who can be a really nice 3-point shooter that can definitely help out on the rebounding, but most importantly, be a really good defender, which I think this Dallas Mavericks team needs. I think they're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, and I think that's obviously a fact. And then you look at it like that. If you're going to have Luka being the ball distributor and even Kyrie, right, you're going to need some shooters around these guys. And they've already got Josh Green, who's low-key a really underrated 3-point shooter and underrated role player, who I think will obviously be their future starting small forward. He's an absolute gun, Josh Green is. So I think he'd be really awesome to have. He complements Kyrie and Luka so greatly because he doesn't need the ball to score. Can be a really nice off-ball guy. And I think if you bring in Taylor Hendricks, I'm looking at a very similar thing to Josh Green, just much better defensively. Again, you're looking at a guy who doesn't need the ball to score. You've got an exceptionally good 3-point shooter who I think, you know, can of course defend to an extremely high level. And I think if Dallas play their cards right, they can improve their defense so much since last season. Again, they were one of the worst defensive teams in the league. If you consistently start Josh Green, he builds up that confidence. He's going to be a star role player in this league where I think, again, week by week, he's going to keep improving that defense. Taylor Hendricks, look, he might not start straight away, but I see this dude playing 20 to 30 minutes per game, whether that's starting or off the bench. Switching from 3 to 5. He can play the 3, he can play the 4, he can play the 5. I think he's going to be very, very useful for this Dallas Mavericks team. And if they want to go small ball, which they've always liked to do, having him at center would be crazy. A 6'9" dude who can get an offensive rebound and just a board in general that has the ability to shoot threes. Yeah, crazy stuff right there. Again, I think in free agency with a couple of moves here and there, they might need to find their center and whatever, which could of course happen. I think there'll be a lot of things that go into that. I'm not too sure who their future guy will be. I don't think it's Christian Wood. I think they're probably just going to let him walk. He didn't do what I think they wanted him to, and I think they're going to be looking for a center who's going to be good defensively and can get a board here and there as well that can complement Luka on the pick and roll. You know, a guy like Clint Capella could be a somewhat of a cheap get, whether that's through free agency or trade. I think he's actually contracted, so maybe trade. But yeah, he would be a really awesome dude to maybe bring up on this team. There's a lot of things this Dallas Mavericks squad can do that I'm going to be really, really interested to see if they will, of course, do so. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you guys agree with everything I've said with these picks 6 through 10? Of course, I would definitely like to know. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my IRL/vlog channel, my podcast. All of them will be linked in the description down below. My gaming channel as well. Go check them out. Most importantly, subscribe to this channel, leave a like, comment your thoughts and opinions. I'd very much like to hear them. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.